Thank you all so much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you to Don Carlin, to George Martinez. Thank you for your awesome work. Thanks for everybody who made this happen tonight. Thanks to the New York Green Party. This is what democracy sounds like, looks like, laughs like, loves like. Thank you all for making this happen here tonight. And this really is a historic moment, and it's been a great night. I'm not going to make it too long, but I just want to say a few things because it is such an amazing journey that we've been on, and I can't think of a better person to go from the jailhouse to the White House with than Sherry Honkala. And we're not just going to go from the jailhouse to the White House. We're going to turn the White House into a greenhouse, and the world will be better for it. I thought this campaign was going to be like the most scary, divisive, ugly election I had ever been a part of, and I've run a bunch of times, and it's always been, it's always been right out there, kind of like, how dare you dare to run? We always hear a little bit of that. And I thought this would be like spoiler on steroids in this campaign, but it's actually been exactly the opposite. It's been like handing out candy at Christmas or Kwanzaa or Hanukkah, in fact. There are 90 million voters out there right now who are voting with their feet by saying they are not going to vote for Barack Obama. They are not going to vote for Mitt Romney. We just need to get the word out that they do have someone to vote for. And it is all about getting that word out, because who would have thought in their right minds that the people of Tahrir Square or Tunisia were going to turn politics on its head in the course of 2 to 3 weeks after 40 years of an entrenched dictatorship? If they could do it in 2 weeks, we can do it in 4 weeks. But seriously, there are 36 million students and recent graduates who are basically indentured servants out there. You'd think that students and the younger generation must be public enemy number one for all the bandwidth that they are getting in this election. How much do we exactly hear Mitt Romney and Barack Obama talking about ending student debt, which is what we're going to do, making public higher education free, which is what we're going to do, ensuring that everyone has a job, putting an end to unemployment in this country, creating 25 million jobs, and a Green New Deal to permanently put an end to unemployment. That's what we're going to do. And while we're at it with those 25 million jobs through the Green New Deal, we not only jumpstart a real recovery, not go back to that same old Wall Street baloney, an economy for the 1%, the hype that's not a real economy, it's a financialized fake economy. We're going to create a real local economy that puts people first, an economy that works for everyday people, and it actually makes wars for oil obsolete because it creates green energy right here at home. And of course, it puts an end to climate change, which is the other thing we got to do, because as you know, climate change isn't that thing 100 years from now, or 50 years from now, or 10 years from now. It's happening right now, far faster than even the most optimistic science predicted, or I should say than even the most pessimistic science predicted. It's far worse. Even that pessimistic science is proving far too optimistic, which is why we need to declare a national state of emergency and enact the Green New Deal right now. And for people who say, oh no, how could we? How could we stand up and actually vote for a third party? How can you do that? So let me back up and say, we all need to be in this election like political therapists and help our friends who are in an abusive political relationship break up with that abuser and get their lives back on track. Because, you know, people go around and they give the excuses of that political abuser. It's like, oh, he really loves me in his heart. I know he does. He didn't mean to take away my job and my home and my college education and my credit worthiness and all the rest. You know, he didn't mean it. It's just that, you know, the Republicans made him do it. It'll be better next year. Or it was my addiction. You know, it was that addiction, not in this case to some substance, but to that money, you know, from the PACs and the super PACs. So we can help our friends out by doing a little reality test with them and actually clarifying that there's a difference here between the walk and the talk. Now that it's election time, we're hearing all that warm and friendly talk again, you know, about how, well, we're all in this together and, well, it's really getting better. Just hang in there a little bit longer. Well, it's true. If you are a CEO at General Motors or with Goldman Sachs, it is getting better. If you're in the 1%, it's getting quite a bit better because corporate profits and CEO salaries and bonuses have never been better. But for ordinary working people, well, actually, we're kind of accelerating in the wrong direction, under Democrats as under Republicans. And when people say they're worried about wasting your vote, you know, well, the truth is to go into the poll, into the voting booth, and to vote, to pull the lever for either corporate-sponsored candidate, basically just gives them a mandate for 4 more years of Wall Street rule. That is the definition of throwing away your vote. And you know, sometimes a little bit of reality testing helps when people are in abusive relationships. Sometimes it actually helps to sit them down and just run through the laundry list as quickly as you can. Wall Street bailouts, $700 billion under George Bush, but $4.5 trillion in dollars already dispersed and another $16 trillion in zero-interest loans given away to Wall Street. So the Wall Street bailouts went ballistic under Barack Obama. They did not get better. And in fact, there's another one going on right now that you may have heard about, this third quantitative easing. It's the 4th bailout for Wall Street. Enough already. It's time to break up the big banks and bail out the students instead. $40 billion a month is what they're spending now. $40 billion a month to keep bailing out the big banks that only get bigger. Too big to fail, too big to jail, more of the same. Time to put an end to it. At $40 billion a month, we could have every student bailed out in the next 2 years with this unlimited bailout going on right now. So that's what we need to do with that quantitative easing. Same thing on, you know, the declining wages, the offshoring of our jobs. How about those free trade agreements that Bill Clinton gave us, expanded under Barack Obama, including with this latest Trans-Pacific Partnership? It's time to turn those free trade agreements, which are free if you're a corporation, but they're very expensive if you are a human being or the planet. It's time to turn those free trade agreements into fair trade agreements. That's what we need and what we're going to do. On the attacks on Medicare and Social Security, that's actually what got me into this race when I heard a year ago that Barack Obama was putting Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid on the chopping block as the solution to the debt ceiling crisis. I said, oh my God, thank heavens, there is a Green Party which is alive and well at the national level, and we are not going to let that go unchallenged. We are the only voice as Greens that are actually standing up for Medicare and Social Security. And just watch, after this election, if we are not in the White House, they are going to be going after Medicare and Social Security. The president has refused to say that he's not. So it's pretty clear what's on the chopping block here. And we are going to be making hay out of that because there is no excuse for that. Social Security is not broke, and Medicare is not broke. All we need to do is raise that cap on Social Security, and the way to fix Medicare is by making it Medicare for all. That's how we're going to fix it. That is the only thing that's really broken about Medicare, is that it hasn't been expanded yet. Because what we need is not a sick care system, and that's basically what we have right now. We don't have health care, we have sick care, and it's hard to even get that sick care. But sometimes you do need sick care, and that's what Medicare for All will do. And by the way, with Medicare for All, we can bring down that national debt every bit as much as they are doing through austerity. What would you rather have, Medicare for all or austerity? What's the way to pay down our debt? Medicare for all, obviously, no brainer. So how about it? And just a couple other little things to reality check. The expanding war, you know how this was going to be the peace president, but unfortunately, you know, why did we withdraw from Iraq? You know, to go into Afghanistan is one reason, and the Iraqis is the other. That's right. And the other reason is George Bush set the date of withdrawal with an agreement that basically ended immunity for U.S. soldiers. So how do you like that? It was George Bush who forced the hand of Barack Obama to bring the troops home from Iraq. So what we need to do now is bring all the troops home from Iraq and Afghanistan and the bases all around the world and bring back those hundreds of billions of dollars to what we need to do here. That's true security, is bringing those troops home. And we need to cut that military budget in half. It's been doubled over the past 10 years. Did we get to be twice as secure? I don't think so. With all that blowback going on around the Middle East, it's pretty clear. Dropping bombs on weddings and funerals from drones is not a good way to win the hearts and minds of the Middle East. We need an international policy. We need a foreign policy based on international law and human rights and diplomacy. And the first step is to downsize those troops and bring them home and our war dollars home. I'll just say a few more words about that Green New Deal because it really is our ticket out of these twin emergencies, the unemployment emergency and the climate emergency. These are truly emergencies. We should have nothing less than a Marshall Plan. This is what a Manhattan Project really ought to look like. During the Second World War, you may have heard, or maybe you were there, they actually converted car factories into bomber factories to run the war. Well, now it's time to convert those bomber factories into solar factories and wind factories and to solve this real emergency now in a war on climate change. So these are things that the American people support. And one last thing, the Green New Deal, it's not only a win for jobs, a win for climate, a win for making wars for oil obsolete. It's also a win for our health because doing what's right for the climate means a healthy food system with local, organic, fresh food, you know, like your mother always told you, this is how you get healthy. It's a transportation system, a public, energy-efficient, clean energy transportation, including safe bike paths and safe sidewalks so we can walk and bike to school and work and to college. Because once you eat the right food and you start getting active, and it gives us pollution prevention because the Green New Deal means we have green energy, not all this stuff spewing carbon and other terrible things for our health and our water supply and our food supply and all that. You know, it means pollution prevention. It means cleaning up the air, keeping our water clean. It means not exhausting our water supplies with this fracking that's being given the thumbs up by the Obama administration and the Cuomo administration. It means no to any new carbon sources, including fracking, which is good for our water, and to say no to fracking is good for our water and good for our health and good for our air and climate. So the Green New Deal is also, it is the healthcare system that we can't buy spending $2 trillion a year on this sick care system. $2 trillion, yet 75% of those dollars is being spent on the treatment of diseases that are preventable at a tiny fraction of the cost. So this saves us big time on sick care expenses that we don't need to have. So it's an all-around win-win. The agenda of the Green Party and our campaign is an all-around win-win, and one of the biggest wins about it is that this is what the American people are actually clamoring for in poll after poll. We actually have majority support. We don't just have the power of truth and justice and real road-tested solutions like the New Deal that actually got us out of the Great Depression, instead of more of this trickle-down voodoo economics that just gets us into more depression. These are solutions that actually work. So what we've got on our side is not only all the right stuff, for once, we actually have public opinion on our side as well. And as Alice Walker says, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing they have it to start with. Well, we know we've got it, and we're going to use it. And that's what our campaign is all about. It's about turning this politics of fear that's been told us we don't dare stand up into the politics of courage, because that's what has always led us forward. A social movement. And the politics of courage is what's alive and well out there on the streets right now, from the democracy revolutions in the Middle East to the Occupy protests all across this country, and the eviction blockades, and the blockades against the Keystone Pipeline going strong in East Texas right now, and the Chicago teachers strike, and the student strikes to stop tuition hikes, in fact, to push for free public higher education, which is what we're calling for. So that courage is alive and well out on the streets, and what we're doing as an independent third political party, an alternative party, we are bringing that politics of courage into the voting booth, because when you have a social movement on the ground together with an independent political party that can drive that agenda forward and into the public discourse, that's when transformational change becomes unstoppable. So, as you know, we've already made history in getting on the ballot for 85% of voters, and in winning federal funding, federal matching funds in this campaign as a first. Thank you for that. So now we have an incredible opportunity in front of us. You know how they tie you up in knots as independent candidates and as an independent party? They keep you very busy just getting on the ballot. For 90% of this election, we have spent our time, our resources, and our staff focused entirely on that battle, and we've largely won it. So now, in the last 3 weeks, basically, now is the time to really run this campaign. But what is so exciting is that even before we started, while we were still fighting to just get on the ballot. We weren't getting out the word. But the word spread all by itself, and we began to come up in the polls from undetectable to 1% to 2%, and now we're going to keep pushing that up. And you know what happens? Because if we can double that again and get from 2% to 4 plus a little more, if we can get to 5%, it would be absolutely staggering. Look, even at 2%, it's nothing less than miraculous, and you should all be proud of having done that. If we lock in at 2%, this is better, this is like 20 times better than what we've been able to do as the Green Party in the last decade. So 2% is a terrific achievement. We need to lock in. But if we can double it, plus a little bit, and get to 5%, we are on the ballot from the minute we hit the ground. We are running. In every race going forward, not just the presidential, but also our local partisan races, we are on the ballot from the get-go if we get to that 5% number. And the other thing we get is, as Sherry mentioned, $20 million to launch the next presidential campaign. So think of it like this. It could be the best investment you ever have made in your life. If we can raise $500,000, and we're on the way to that, but $500,000 would give us a really strong final campaign. That means basically doubling what we did in the first half of the race. During the primary, we raised $500,000. This was absolutely record-breaking for the Green Party. Yeah, and thank you all for that. Thank you so much. So now I'm asking you to do it again, to give what you gave and call everybody you know who's not here and ask them to do the same thing. Because if we can raise that $500,000 again for this final 4 weeks, we think we are in a very good position. We're in a very good striking zone to actually reach that 5%. If we can hire full staffing with a $500,000 campaign, we think we are very well positioned to get to 5%. If we get to 5%, boy, they will not know what is coming at them at the start of the next election cycle. So it means if you can contribute $5, you're a hero. If you can contribute $50, you're a hero. If you can contribute $500, or in fact, $2,500, that's the limit that is legally allowable. So I mention it in case there's someone walking around the room who has just change overflowing from your pockets and you don't know what to do with it. But you're a hero, whatever you contribute. And if you call 10 of your friends and tell them to do the same thing, you're 10 times as much of a hero just for spreading the word. And that's the other thing that all of us can do, because there really are 90 million people out there that are waiting to hear about this campaign. And that includes 36 million students and recent graduates who are indentured servants until they hear about this campaign. And they, as you know, are very well positioned to get the word out. No one is better networked, better at Facebook and Twitter and all that to get the word out. And by the way, for Facebook, it's just Jill Stein. For Twitter, it's at Jill Stein 2012. And our website, as you probably know, is jillstein.org. If you go to the website and you get the newsletter, sign up for the newsletter, it's a great way to get the word out. Because if we go viral, if we get the word out, we can completely transform politics. In this election, think about the people in Tahrir Square. No one in their right mind expected that they were going to boot out the entrenched military dictatorship that had been there for 40 years, but they decided as young people, they did not have a future with the status quo. They got up, they went out and they said, we are going to own this country and make it a democracy and take our future back. And that's what we can do now. In this election, we have an opportunity like we never have had before. We are at the breaking point for people, peace, the planet, our democracy, our civil liberties, the climate, you name it. The clock is ticking, but we have the power in this election to get the word out at a time when people have been more hungry for exactly what we're offering than ever before. And it is a win. It's a win for us no matter what. If we turn the White House into a greenhouse and we win the office, well, that will be totally awesome. But if we don't do that, if we fall short, you know, if you're ever going to win it, you've got to begin it. And it is a win. It is a win simply to regain our political voice and our political courage so the world knows that in the United States of America, the people have returned to the political stage once more, and we can turn that breaking point into a tipping point and take back our democracy and the future we deserve. Thank you all so very much for being here. Thank you.
Let's hear it one more time for the next President of the United States of America.